We've got a lot to chat about tonight, I'm telling you. Got a lot to chat about tonight. We've got so much Apple news from this week, and I really want to kind of get stuck into it. But first, I'm kind of curious to know how you're all doing. That's the main thing. So we've got, I'm going to do these in order. There's probably still like more stuff to come, but we've got like the Apple. So there's the iPhone 17e. There is the new iPad Air. There is a new MacBook Air, M4 powered. We've also got new studio displays, 2 of them. And new MacBook Pros, M5 Pro, M5 Max chips. And then, of course, we've got the very cheeky MacBook Neo that was announced today. So there's a lot to get through. Hello, Prash. Good to see you, mate. And also, yes, Agricultural Nicola. It's Bob. Hi, Bob from Northumberland. Yes, of course, we met in York. Good to see you, my friend. Welcome. Glad you could join us. Right, so we're going to start off, I think, by talking about the iPhone option, because I've probably got the least to say about that, but maybe you've got some stuff you want to say about that. First of all, before we get started, which of the products that Apple have announced so far this week are you most excited about? And, crucially, have you ordered any? Let me know in the chat. It'd be good to know. I've ordered 2, and I'll tell you about which ones I've ordered very shortly. It's probably not the ones that you think either. Before we get into that, let's have a look. Just going to put myself properly in the frame there. There we go. So let's start off. Yeah. So this week, Apple have announced a lot. It's actually, I was thinking about this in general this year. Apple have announced a ridiculous amount of like product services. There's been tons going on. But we're going to cover what's been going on this week in this sort of, let's call it the spring Apple vomit of all of the products. They've just come out. There's a few little very tiny promotional videos, but there's really not much to go on. They did a kind of live-ish demonstration of the MacBook Neo today, but apart from that, it's been pretty sparse. So let's get into the iPhone 17e for a starter. So I kind of, perhaps unfairly, describe this as the iPhone that you buy for a grandma or a granddad. Essentially someone who doesn't really care about features or display quality or power or particularly having a good camera, but you just need a phone that can make phone calls and that has an Apple sticker on it. So let's have a wander through what's actually new here with the iPhone 17e. First of all, is that fair? Is that a fair description? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I'm being a bit cynical and a bit salty there, but I don't know. I don't know why you buy this and not just the regular iPhone 17, because that is a great phone. The regular iPhone 17 is a legitimately brilliant phone. Why would you want this one? It's got a 60Hz display, which is the only iPhone that offers a 60Hz display. It now comes with proper MagSafe charging. The last year's 16e didn't have MagSafe charging. It would charge if you put it on a charger, but it wasn't magnetic and attaching that way. So it's, I guess that's slightly better than last year's wireless charging, and it's faster as well. It's like the Qi 2 speeds. And they've upgraded the storage. So for the entry price of, I think it's $599. Oh yeah, it's on screen there. You get 256 gigabytes, which is pretty good. And they've got a new pink color. That's literally it. I mean, as far as I can tell, that's it. It hasn't even got the dynamic island on it. It's just a notch at the top of the phone. So, I mean, also, you've got to hand it off to, you know, Apple's marketing team. Say hello to a goodbye. That's good. You can't argue with that. That is a really good bit of marketing. But other than that, I don't know. Is this any good? Would you consider buying this? If so, who would have a phone like this? Absolute basics. Would it be for kids? Like teenagers? I don't know many teenagers would be happy if you bought them one of these. Still, I guess it's all progress, isn't it? See, I think this is telling. Compare with iPhone 11. I think this phone isn't really for people who care about phones. It's for people who are on like a, you know, a mobile cellular contract, and actually they care about just upgrading from the last phone they had, which might have been 3 years ago, would be my best guess. But it's quite the device. So yeah, Prash, it's the Neo. Tempted to buy one for my parents. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't want to be ageist at all on that front, but it kind of feels like that kind of phone. Both of my parents now are rocking iPhone 17s because I recommended that they buy them. But it's, you know, that's the way it goes, right? Oh, Bob's out of the gate. You have had an expensive day, my friend. So you've bought the iPad Pro, the MacBook Pro. That's the new one, right? The M5. Did you get the M5? The M5 Pro or the M5 Pro M5 Max? And the iPhone 17 Pro, plus an iPad Mini. Oh, buddy. That is an expensive day. You're going to have a great time, though, when all of that arrives. Imagine that. Imagine the unboxing experience. I'm curious to know, Prash, what is it that about the Neo that would recommend it to your parents? Is it some of the stuff that I've been through, or is there something in particular that's in that phone that you think is really good for parents? And likewise, Bob, that's a lot of devices. So iPad Pro, MacBook Pro, iPhone 17 Pro, and iPad Mini. That's actually my exact setup at the moment. I've got all of those devices, except I haven't got the new MacBook Pro. Spoiler alert, that is not one of the ones that I decided to purchase today. And I'll talk about that a bit more later on in the stream. But yeah, so you went for the M5. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. Let's go on. Let's go and see what else we've got to offer. So that's the iPhone 17e. Pretty basic phone. It's good for your parents. Recommend it to your grandparents, people who don't really care about anything that you might, as a tech fan, be really considerate of, such as a good camera or a really fast processor or lots of storage or a great screen. But it'll work as a phone. And probably a really good upgrade if you're coming from something like an iPhone 11 or maybe an iPhone mini-ish. Okie dokie. Right, next up, iPad Air. Now, so this is where the things get really interesting. Now supercharged by the M4 processor. So we've got a new iPad Air. This is one of the things that I have ordered today because I'm really keen to see this. So not last year, but the year before, the iPad Pro came out, which was powered by an M4 processor. And that thing is rapid. Even now, that's a really, it's a hugely powerful device. And now it's in an iPad Air. Not actually less than 2 years ago. which you get in those different form factors. So there's the 11-inch version, there's the 13-inch version. I did test out the M3 13-inch last year on the channel. So I'm getting the 11-inch iPad Air with the M4, and I'm going to put it up against my M5 powered iPad Pro and see exactly how pro you need to get before something gets called pro. I'm really confused by iPad Air because on one hand, I think this was my first iPad. My first ever iPad was an iPad Air. And you know what? It's like, why is it called an iPad Air? It's the heaviest iPad that Apple sell. It's also not that thin. In fact, I don't think it might even be the thickest iPad Apple sell, potentially trumped by the regular iPad. The one that hasn't got an Air or a Pro or a Mini suffix. I don't know about that. I think this whole device needs a complete rebranding, a complete relabeling, because obviously a MacBook Air is different. It's thin, it's compact, it's very, very light. You almost don't notice it's there, hence the Air phrase. The iPhone Air, as we all know, is ridiculously thin. I've tested that out. You just don't know that you're carrying it around with you. So much so, I didn't want it. I got rid of it because it was freaking me out. But iPad Air just doesn't hold that same type of quality. So what do we do about that? I'm not so sure. I think the iPad Air's had a bit of an identity crisis. Oh yeah, Bob's saying it fits in the backpack I sent over. Yeah. Bob is part of my membership community, folks, where occasionally things get either sent on or shared. This was the backpack. If you watch the channel, you might remember this backpack. It's a lead back backpack, which allows you to cast your own images, etc., onto the backpack. It's pretty cool. So yeah, iPad Air. What sort of things, I mean, what's your thoughts on this? Like, it's got an M4 processor, which a year and a half ago was in the Pro iPad. It runs the same operating system. It does all the cool stuff that an iPad Pro will do, such as connect to an external monitor. You get a fancy floating keyboard, albeit not the same one that comes with the Pro. And it's got a monster processor now inside it. This still remains the thing that I would recommend most people buy, unless you have had your hands on an iPad Pro and you say, I cannot deal with not having that beautiful screen and the lightness. I don't know what we'll see. Welcome, Arizona, Mike. Good to see you, my friend. We're just walking through all of the stuff that Apple have announced so far this week. If you've got any strong opinions, strong thoughts, or if you've ordered any of it, I'm keen to know, mate. Give us a heads up. So yeah, that's the iPad Air. I haven't actually dug into much of the detail of this one, other than the fact that it's got a faster processor in. Yeah, so again, it's all about sort of zipping around the operating system. They're still going on about Apple Intelligence, even though it does practically nothing. But you'll see this is a bit of a theme here. Everything is still parroting this whole line around. It's powered for Apple Intelligence, set up for Apple Intelligence. What this really means, I think, is that it can handle on-device AI. Not necessarily Apple-powered AI, but things like Claude or ChatGPT. You can run it on your device, and it'll do a pretty good job of it. But, you know, cleaning up people from Photos app, do people really want to buy a special device just for that? Probably not, I would suggest. I would recommend, I mean, I haven't had my hands on this one yet, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say I'm expecting the 11-inch model to be very, very good. I have tested the 13-inch model of this iPad series. I tested last year's M3 version, and it was so big and so cumbersome and so heavy, it was practically useless. You might as well just get a laptop, particularly now that Apple have produced a laptop which is at an incredible price and very, very portable. There's that fancy floating keyboard again. It's not quite as fancy as the iPad Pro one, but it's still really nice. And it works, it works as advertised. And it works with the Apple Pencil Pro, of course, with its fancy hover and squeeze gestures. But yeah, there's nothing else new here. It weighs the same, it looks the same. I expect it will feel the same as last year's version. But that is the iPad Air, folks. Yeah. Anyone else got one on order? I don't know. Oh, Mike, I'm glad it's warm and sunny over where you are. I should hope it is over in Arizona. Good news from the UK. After, I would say most of 2026 has been full of rain and dark and just misery so far. Last couple of days, the sun has come out, and today was just a beautiful, glorious spring day here. We're talking the balmy, the heights of 11 degrees Celsius. I was out in a t-shirt today. I shouldn't have because it was too cold, but I was wearing a t-shirt today because the sun was out, and that's the rules. Yeah, Bob. Yeah, they have way more power than anything iPadOS can support. 90% of these are used for consuming content. Absolutely. And this is where the Mac Neo, which we'll get to, has got me really intrigued because, and again, we'll dive into this in a bit more detail shortly. Apple have announced a MacBook that runs full macOS, as far as I know, but is powered by an iPhone chip. So it's got all these iPads out there that are running legitimate laptop powering chips that are kind of strangled and shackled by the confines of iPadOS, and then they're just knocking out a really amazing budget level Mac that's running an iPhone chip. That feels like they're trolling us, Apple fans. Yeah, Mike's saying might go with an Air next time. I think most people should buy an iPad Air, unless you have unless you're able to say within a couple of sentences why you need the Pro version, or you've just got money that you want to burn on it. Most people should just buy the iPad Air because it's a great little tablet, and it's well priced. Yeah, so you're rocking the 2018 iPad Pro 11. That was my previous iPad Pro. I had that as well. It was it's the last one that was kind of thick, in inverted commas. It wasn't thick, but by today's Pro standards, it is quite thick. If you pick up one of the modern ones, well, actually, I would say don't pick up one of the modern ones, because you'll probably find that you want it and you won't be able to settle for anything less. And that's what Apple want you to think. Don't fall for their trap, mate. You're better than that. Yeah, we have earned it in the UK. We struggle and we complain about the weather all the time. We're well known all over the world for it. In fact, this is a bit of a side quest here. Side note. When I was about 10, I used to live in Singapore. My dad got a job there, and we all went out there for a year and a bit. It was great, really, really cool, really amazing place to grow up and go to school and stuff. But the thing I missed most of all was the weather, because in Singapore, apart from the rainy season, it's pretty much hot, humid, sunny all the time. I just got really bored of not seeing the seasons change and being able to talk about the seasons changing and being able to look forward to seasons changing. Yeah, it just never happened. So we came back eventually, obviously. I do live in Yorkshire in the UK. But yeah. Oh, Mike, you're a man after my own heart. Using the iPad mini the most. Okay. I feel like I've been a bit of a I've betrayed my iPad mini fan group, because I have been using mine the least. Do you know why? It's because I've been using this thing. Remarkable Paper Pro Move. I realised after I started using this device for a bit, which I was testing out for a review, right? I had no idea that I was going to like it. In fact, I actively wanted to hate it, but it's really grown on me. I love the size. It's brilliant for note taking, and it doesn't distract me. And I've realized since I've been taking notes on that, actually, I've been using my iPad mini way less. And I've discovered that my iPad mini, which is here, I've got it with me, was primarily a note-taking device. I do use it for some content consumption, but when you've also got an iPad Pro, which looks so much better, and it's a bit bigger, and it's light, yeah, I need something to bring me back to the iPad mini. I don't know what it'll be, but I need something that will bring me back there and stop me using the iPad Pro so much. Maybe we'll get a new one. I don't think it's going to be this week, though, sadly. I've heard a few people going, well, do you think we'll get a new iPad mini? I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think that we will see a new one later this year when that all comes round. Yeah, so Bob's saying, Mac Neo. Yeah. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on there. Let's get over to that one next. Actually, no. Let's talk about the MacBook Air. So again, the Air series in general, apart from the phone, is the thing that I recommend most people buy because it's that good. And I don't think a MacBook Air has been as good as this one so far. So it's now powered by M5. So this was in like last year's Pro model MacBooks. It's razor thin. It's super light. You don't get many ports, but apart from that, it's a superb laptop. It'll last for ages. The battery's amazing. Obviously, it's running on beautiful Mac OS, which does a great job. Yeah, I've been really tempted to switch to it. The only thing that's stopping me from switching to a MacBook Air is I think a lot of my really heavy video editing might suffer a bit. I'm currently using an M1 Max MacBook Pro from 2021, and it's not slowing down at all. And whilst I'd love an upgrade, and I probably could write it off as a business expense, actually, I don't need it. But this little MacBook Air, it's such a great device, and I'm trying to think about excuses to grab one. It comes in two sizes as well. I think the 13-inch is probably the one to get. You want the if you're buying it for portability. You're not buying it to sort of sit at a desk. Now, one thing I have noticed is that I don't think they are giving away a charging cable anymore, or is that just on the other ones? Let me just have a quick look. 13 inches. I like these darker blue ones. Okay, so you can choose your processing power. So you can either have 10-core GPU with a 16-core neural engine. Yeah, so you can pay a little bit more, $100 in this case, and get a slightly faster GPU. That might do it actually, if I was doing lots of video editing. Let's go with a basic lineup. Yeah, okay, so you get a very basic power adapter included, but if you want something that will actually power it and let it use some serious workloads, you might need to spend a bit extra on a 70-watt charger. Interesting. So yeah, anyone looking at the iPad Air as an option? Sorry, the MacBook Air as an option? I'm not sure. One day I'll figure out if I become one of those creators that travels a lot, I probably will buy one of these, because I've tried working on a MacBook for a while now, and on an iPad on the go, and it's not enough. I find myself cursing myself and thinking I should have just brought my MacBook with me. This would solve that problem. So yeah, maybe late this year. Thank you for stopping by, Bob. Good to see you, my friend. Right, let's go on. MacBook Pro. Now, this is the thing that I was most excited about. If you joined the last month's live stream, this was the one I was super duper ready to upgrade. I was like, if they bring out a MacBook Pro, an M5 Max one, I'm probably ready for an upgrade. I've decided not to, for all kinds of reasons, but there's some really good news here. First of all, the starting point for storage is a terabyte, which I think tells you an awful lot about who this is aimed at. In my case, like when I'm working on video projects, like a single video that I make that could be, I don't know, like a 9-10 minute video, that can easily take up a terabyte of space on my computer. Easily. Sometimes it could be 2 terabytes. And then I've got obviously got all the footage and stuff that runs, you know, that they'll be powering that, plus all of my other files and work. So I usually have a 4 terabyte hard drive minimum, and I sometimes run out of space. So I have these little kind of portable drives, and I've got a NAS server at home that I can offload stuff onto when I'm not working from it. But it is a pain. It's nicer to have everything in one space, but you pay a lot of money for it. Is the problem with Apple. But the good thing is that they've started the storage at 1 terabyte for the M5 Pro, and they're starting at 2 terabytes for the M5 Mac. So I think that's a pretty good move by Apple. You get the new N1 chip, which gives you Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 6 support. They're claiming you get 24 hours of battery life, which sounds pretty good. And you can spec this thing up crazily. So you can have up to 40 cores of GPU. So it's 4 times the GPU power compared to the MacBook Air that we were just looking at. Plus loads of RAM. Now, there was some speculation over whether Apple would keep the price the same, given the issues with RAM at the moment and RAM prices, which are just through the roof everywhere. But they have put the price up a little bit. Not ridiculous amount, but they have put the price up. So yeah, I've decided on balance. As much as I really, really, really want one of these, and I would love to put it through its paces, I think I have to kind of take my own advice here, which is that if you do not need an upgrade to a piece of tech, no matter how shiny and attractive it might look, don't buy it. Save your money, especially as the very strong rumors are with the MacBook Pro lineup. Come the autumn, the fall of this year, we'll be seeing a revised type of MacBook Pro with a new design, possibly a new display, possibly a touchscreen display. Now, a lot of people had hypothesized that the Tim Cook advert for this week's set of announcements hinted at there being an element of touch screen ability. Now, we haven't seen all of the devices yet that have been released this week. There could be more to come. But I think it would be really odd if we saw a touchscreen MacBook now after everything else that's been released so far. More likely that will come later on the line. I think if you've seen the little clip, it's been on like socials, it's on Instagram and Threads, I've seen it, where Tim Cook had there's a little animation of somebody prodding at an Apple logo and making it into the right shape using their fingers, and that the hint there is this is a touchscreen device. I think that's a HomePod. I think we're going to see a new HomePod that's got a touchscreen on it, and that's probably going to be later on this week. We will see. We will see. Nico, Monkey Boy, 17 degrees in London. You got to be joking, mate. What are you going to wear? It's a difficult time of year to know what to wear. I've seen some people today. I did the school run. I saw people wearing huge, great big, like football manager style puffy jackets and woolen hats. And I saw a man in shorts and a t-shirt. Everyone was very confused by it all. I have to wear a hat most days anyway because my head just gets too cold now that I shave it all off. Yeah, so Nico, you mentioned the Mac Neo. Does that mean you're going to order one? Are you tempted enough to order one? Or do you think it's not quite for you? Because we're kind of looking at the most expensive, the most powerful in the MacBook lineup right now with the MacBook Pros. And then the MacBook Neo is the opposite end. Budget, super budget, and we're going to come to this. I've got a lot to say about this computer, and barely can handle anything. So it's very different audiences. Oh, Mike, you're getting 26 degrees Celsius in Phoenix. I mean, that's our summer temperatures right there. Why are you rubbing that in our faces like that? Why would you do it? Ah, Nico, yes, okay. You meant it offer better use cases than any iPad. I think you're right. Right, before we get to the MacBook Neo, let's go and have a look at these displays because, oh man, there's a lot going on here. So Studio Display, first of all. This has been one of those things where every time I see one, I'm like, I want one, especially as my kind of studio buddy Sarah, who is a photographer, has one of these in the studio. It's magnificent. Occasionally I work at it. If she's busy on another part of the room, I plug my MacBook into this and I can edit from it. The color reproduction is amazing. It's like a one cable setup. It looks beautiful on the desk. Everything works. And it's 1,500 quid or dollars. And it's 60 hertz. And it's an IPS panel. And it's only 27 inches. I mean, you could spend that amount of money and get two amazing monitors from another brand, or you could spend that sort of money and get one incredible monitor, like a reference monitor from the likes of Asus or BenQ. So far I've held off on buying a Studio Display, even though I do really like it. The other thing about Studio Displays that not a lot of people talk about is that the built-in speakers are fantastic. They're absolutely phenomenal. It's got a built-in webcam, but I mean, yeah, you can get a much better webcam than a 12 megapixel webcam that's built into that thing. But yeah, the speakers are fantastic. This one's got Thunderbolt 5. That's the new piece here, and I think it's got a slightly higher degree of brightness compared to the previous model, which is getting quite old now. I think the original Studio Display came out in 2021, so this is the first time it's been revised. You can also buy it with nano textured glass, which is great. And as far as I know, I think it comes with a stand now. Is that right? Oh no, this one always came with a stand, but it you could choose what kind of stand it was, whether it's a height and tilt adjustable or just a tilt adjustable. Again, a bit cheeky, Apple. But you see these everywhere. The challenge is, it's because it's so clean and it's so minimal, that does also mean you can't really plug much into it other than a USB-C cable. Well, that's all you can plug into it. USB-C cable, or you need a whacking great dock hanging out at the end of it. Not a dog, that would be weird, wouldn't it? But yeah, if you had a sort of, big dirty dock with an HDMI cable, I think you can run an HDMI through it, but it needs an adapter, which is just a bit gross when you're spending this much money on a monitor. And then we have the XDR Studio Display. So this is now replacing the Pro Display XDR. Now, I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here, but you might cast your mind back. You might remember when Apple released the Pro Display XDR. This was it a $7,000 monitor? I think it cost $7,000, $6,000 or $7,000, and then you also had to pay for the stand, which cost $999. Like the most ludicrous bit of kit, but it was a 32-inch monitor that ran in 6K at 60 hertz. I mean, even by Apple standards, that was taking the mickey. So this is kind of the replacement to it. So they've brought out a more pro version of the Studio Display called the Studio Display XDR. This thing is pricey for what it is. But it does come with a stand built in, so you've saved yourself $999 automatically, or so Apple would have you believe. It's only 27-inch. It is only 5K. But it comes with 2000 nits peak brightness. Now, that might not sound like a lot, especially when you compare it to an iPad screen or even a laptop screen, an expensive laptop screen. But I would challenge you to look around and find a 5K monitor that runs at 120 hertz that has more than 2000 nits brightness. You just don't see them. That's a seriously bright monitor that would be kind of for professional reference grade use, I believe. And you get the same webcam and the surround system that you get in the standard studio display. So I think this is a really interesting product. Mini LED backlight, which is where that brightness is coming from. So yeah, would you pay all of that money to have those kind of features? I'm not sure. Hello, Sancho's in the house. Now I'm going to say your channel name right now. I'm Checker Tech. See, I've been practicing, mate. Good to see you. Yeah, and unfortunately, you did join at the wrong time because I was talking about having a dog hanging out the back of this this monitor. Sorry, man. It's been a long day. It's been a really long day. So yeah, anyone tempted to spend $3,500 on a monitor from Apple? Yeah, Mike's got a really interesting point here. Buyer's remorse. Buyer's remorse is a really powerful sensation, and I think Apple lean into it more than most other companies. Obviously, in the tech world, you're always going to have buyer's remorse because you're never more than a few months away from the next new release or the next new version of the product. I always think it's interesting with MacBook Pros in particular. It's very canny that they tend to release the non-Pro or Max version of the MacBook Pro in the autumn period, usually around September, October time that launches. So we've had an M5 MacBook Pro for ages, but we have to wait until March to get the M5 Pro MacBook Pro. There's too many Pros, man. Or the M5 Max MacBook Pro. They drag it out. They wouldn't just release all three in the same time. So you do end up getting buyer's remorse because, yeah, you want to upgrade to the next new thing, and it's probably going to be faster. It's going to be a bit more of an upgrade. But all in all, you end up with buyer's remorse. Yeah, I bought the M4 Mac Mini too, mate. And do you know what? I sold it. I just couldn't find a use for it. I kept trying to find places in my life for the M4 Mac Mini to exist, and I just could not. I could not. It's a wonderful bit of kit. I never thought I would see a computer like that in my lifetime. That was that size, that had that amount of power, that had that amount of flexibility to it. But I couldn't justify it, so I ended up selling it. Unfortunately for me, it was before this whole AI claw craze went on and everyone was buying Mac Minis up like they were nobody's business. So I missed out on that little gold rush. That probably would have been a justified use for it, but no. Never mind. Sancho saying, did we already talk about the new MacBook? No, we have not. In fact, you joined at exactly the right time because we're about to talk about it now. So we've talked about everything else. Apple released this week the iPhone 17e for your grandma, iPad Air for most people, the MacBook Air for most people, the MacBook Pro for professional creators. And then we have the MacBook Neo. Oh yeah, and the studio displays for people who've got too much money and not enough sense. MacBook Neo. This is the most interesting thing Apple have released, I reckon, in years. Look at the price. So this is a fully fledged MacBook. Starts at $599 for a base model. And it's in lots of fun colours. So you get it in the silver, blush, And I don't know about this green, guys. What are your thoughts on the green? It's a very specific shade of green as well, which I kind of feel like I need to see it in person. But they also have this indigo kind of dark blue color. And as you can see, all the keyboards and trackpads are color matched to go with it. So it's really, really fun looking device. Have a look at this. So you've got, yeah, silver. Let's have a look at top down. There we are. Standard, white keyboard. It's probably going to look awful in a couple of weeks after you use it. Then there's the blush, pink. Citrus. This is the one that split a lot of people. Well, how about that? Can you imagine opening that every morning? It looks like a fever dream. It looks like that time when I had too many apple martinis and I was very poorly. That's all it's making me think of. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe I'm just reliving trauma. And then we have the indigo color, which I have bought. I think this looks absolutely stunning. Look at that blue keyboard. Crazy. So when you order this, interestingly, there are two options, right? So you can order it in a 256 gig configuration with just a regular keyboard. I'm not sure who should have that. For the sake of buying something for $599 or $699, you get double the storage and you get the Touch ID on your keyboard. That feels like a no-brainer to me for the sake of $100 or £100. That's the version that I've ordered anyway. Touch ID is really, really good. Once you've had it, it's very difficult not to have it. Although Apple do have the passkey system, which works when your Apple's when your Mac is in dock mode. But yeah, so I've ordered that version, the 512. I think that looks pretty solid. The thing I'm finding myself asking myself with this particular machine is, who is it for? Because Apple's marketing around this is quite interesting. There's lots of kind of young folk in there. So I'm thinking, is this for teenagers doing homework? Is this for people who need very, very light use, or maybe are mainly using browser-based apps to get their work done? They don't need sort of on-device apps. 512 gigabytes is not a lot. So you're not going to be running Final Cut on there. You're not going to be running Logic. You're not going to be running Photoshop or anything on a 512 gigabyte device. This is just purely for getting a few things done. Admin. This is also interesting. First Mac. Could this be someone's first Mac? A really good way to get into the Apple ecosystem at a very, very low price compared to some of the other devices we've looked at. And then you've got sort of these college students in this sort of teaching environment. I think this would be a brilliant device to have if you're about to go to college. It looks pretty light. It's probably, you're not going to, if it takes a bit of a beating, you're not going to feel terrible about it. But yeah, here's some of the details. So it's 500 nits of brightness. It's about the same as like an iPad. 13-inch display, about the same as a big iPad Air, let's call it. And it's got a proper integrated keyboard and trackpad, and it's got Touch ID, and it's got a decent webcam. It's got the same webcam that's in all the other MacBooks. It's got some pretty naff looking microphones and speakers. I'm going to test these out when I get this because I'm interested to see what these speakers are like. Are they better than an iPad, or are they about the same? And then you get the same number of ports as a regular MacBook Air. Two little USB-C ports and a headphone jack. That's it. So you're going to need a dongle if you're going to be doing any transferring of files, or if you want to add anything to it. But that's pretty good. Again, $599. This is the thing though, right? It's being the thing that's running a full version of macOS is an A18 Pro chip, which is, let's just go over this again, an iPhone chip. This was in an iPhone, last year's iPhone, if I'm not mistaken, and it's capable of running full-blown macOS. What? So Apple have been saying for years that we cannot have macOS running on an iPad, even when an iPad is running M4, now M5 level chips, which definitely can power a laptop. We know because they do power the laptops, but they're quite happy to then throw a phone chip into a MacBook shell and have it power macOS. That feels deeply like I'm being trolled as an iPad fan. And I'm not sure how I feel about it. But this does then present you with an interesting dilemma, I think. If you've got that amount of money to spend, oh, also, we've got to talk about this picture, right? This girl here is wearing AirPod Max headphones. Let me just check the price of those. I'm pretty sure they are $699. She's using a MacBook that is worth $599. Let me just put on my headphones that are worth more than my entire computer to get some work done. I don't think so, mate. I don't think so. Yeah, so I think this is a really interesting move from Apple. They're clearly going after that sort of netbook market. Here's that built for Apple Intelligence again. And I'm interested to know your thoughts on this one. It's like, it's a lot. And like I say, it presents this really interesting dilemma. So if you've got $500, $600 to spend, you've got a clear picture of, you could buy an iPad and be an iPad user within the confines and constraints, and there are a lot of constraints of iPad OS, but have the ability to draw on stuff and have the ability to, use your fingers to interact with the device. And some people really like iPad OS. It is pretty cool, and it's closer to macOS than it's ever been. You can plug a lot of iPads into a display, for example, and use them just like a MacBook. On the other hand, you can spend that money on a MacBook Neo, a far underpowered device that won't allow you to do pro apps like film editing or photo editing or deep sort of on-device AI work, for example. And it runs macOS. It's like an iPad with a keyboard attached, essentially, but running macOS. So you then got this choice around, well, what environment do you want to operate in most of the time? It's kind of mad. Yeah, Sancho said, yeah, this is a crazy price. Yeah, like you say, it's like they've almost set up a device that competes with their other devices. With that sort of price bracket, I wasn't expecting it to be anywhere near that kind of price. I thought it'd be much more expensive, like $799, somewhere just a little bit higher than an iPad tier. But yeah, I like it. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on it and see what it's like, especially when seeing what that blue, that colour looks like, indigo colour looks in the flesh. I'm really excited to see that. But I am going to probably put it up against an iPad Pro because that's probably its closest competition. Because this thing's underpowered, right? It's got I'm pretty sure it's got, let me check the specs. It's barely got any RAM. Yeah, Apple haven't really listed this on the website, which is kind of interesting. So let me just show you this on the screen so you can see. This is, I think you have to kind of dig around to find some of this information out. Right, let's have a look. So yeah, I've got MacBook Neo on the left-hand side, MacBook Air, and then the MacBook Pro. So these are all the latest editions. Actually, no, sorry, let's put the M5 MacBook Pro, M5 Max. This is the one that I would buy if I was doing an upgrade. So here you've got 13-inch, 13.6-inch for the MacBook Air, and then 14-inch for the MacBook Pro. So they're pretty similar sizes. This one's a little bit smaller. It's going to be much more portable. Obviously, got your chips there. Look at the difference here in terms of your CPU and GPU performance. So this MacBook Neo is not going to be doing anything graphically intense. So if you're thinking about playing games on that, forget it. If you're thinking about doing anything like, motion graphics or any kind of intense image editing, forget that. It's just not going to cope. you're going to be getting the spin wheel of death before long. But this is really interesting, that you only get 8 gigabytes of unified memory. That again says a lot about who this computer is for, because that's nothing. It's really nothing. And again, it's sort of, this computer, whilst you have the openness of the macOS ecosystem, it is going to be confined by the chip, that iPhone chip that's in it, and the severely limited amount of memory that's in there. So it's going to have issues swapping between apps and having lots of apps open at different times. It's going to have issues opening anything that's really intensive to use. So again, I'll come back to this. This is going to be like for browser-based work, almost like a netbook, like a classic netbook would have been in the sort of mid-2000s. It's still an impressive device, but we shouldn't kid ourselves in thinking that it's going to be like, you know, absolutely crackers. Yeah, Nico spotted it. 8 gigabytes. In most devices, that just wouldn't wash. So I don't know. A lot of people seem to have missed that piece. Yeah, it looks cool, great price, and it runs full macOS. It's not like a stripped down version of it, but it's kind of is going to be a stripped down version of it, because it's not going to be able to run a lot of types of apps, not just pro apps. I'm not just talking about kind of creator work. I'm just talking about if you are into gaming, or if you're looking through a massive photo library, it's going to struggle. So you're probably just going to fire it up, do some emails, maybe do some banking. If you want to, I don't know, go into a, you know, ChatGPT window or Google Drive or spreadsheets, that sort of thing. But don't forget about doing any proper work on that kind of device. It's really not for that sort of thing at all. Cool. So yeah, what a week so far. I'm interested to know, A, have you got any other thoughts or questions about anything that we've looked at so far that you are thinking about, that you're not sure about? And B, are there any devices that we haven't seen so far that you're excited that Apple might be unveiling later on in the week? We've got two days left. I think we've been promised there's going to be a few more surprises yet to follow. What are we missing? What are you thinking about? Or we could just talk about dirty dogs for a bit longer. It's up to you. So as for me, there's a couple of products that have kind of been missed out, that we've not seen anything updates for a while. Obviously, Mike's just jumped in. The updated iPad Mini, which I mean, let's be fair, you do need it. Everyone needs an iPad Mini in their life. Well, if you haven't had an iPad Mini in your life, you need to have one, just for the sake of it's perfect. It's a perfect device. I love this thing. It's probably one of my favorite things Apple have ever made. It's fatally flawed in about 18 different ways. But when they upgrade this, and they will upgrade this to having a proper display, a proper battery life, and make it a bit thinner, ooh, that could be it. That could be like the final form of this device. I'm excited for that. I don't think we're going to get it this week. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll be jumping out my seat if that happens, but I think that's going to happen later this year, where we'll end up seeing in the autumn fall lineup, we'll get like a MacBook Pro completely redesigned with the crazy OLED display, a little bit thinner, a little bit lighter, and we'll get a new iPad Mini. rumored to be with an OLED display and 120 hertz refresh rate. That would be a brilliant thing. And yeah, I'd be really excited for that. There's also rumors that they've been testing a new type of speaker system on the new one of these. I covered this in a video a little while ago, where they basically removed the speaker holes and they made the whole thing like a vibration conduction type of speaker, so it can be waterproof, a bit like a phone. So yeah, patented a new type of speaker system which they'll debut in the new iPad mini. Again, that'd be pretty cool. Be interested to have a look at that. Good evening, Kit Roberts. You've joined in at an excellent time. He says that was a heavy dose of sarcasm. Sorry, mate. You couldn't control what time you joined in. But I am about to shut the stream down. We've got a few minutes left before we head off. The other thing I think that we will see this week is new set of HomePods. I actually really rate the HomePod speakers. I think they're excellent. Again, they are brilliant hardware that is confined by the complete stupidity of Siri. Sorry if I've just set anyone's speakers off there. It's like, why would you have a speaker that's controlled by an assistant that's so unusually dumb? Maybe it'll be more powerful in the future. I predict, actually, Apple will launch a new set of HomePods and they will say that it's powered by Apple Intelligence. Okay, you heard it here first. That's what's going to happen. It'll have some special chip in it that allows you to interact with it using Apple Intelligence. And that will be the big selling point. But they don't need to do that. They just need to bring out a new set of speakers with slightly better audio, because their audio is incredible. Got one in the studio with a little HomePod minis. It's fantastic. Really, really cool. Mike's saying, what I love most about the Mini is that I don't ever try to make it a productivity device like I've tried and failed to do with the iPad Pro. I totally agree. Again, one of the reasons I love this is because it's pure. It's like such a pure experience. This is kind of feels like what an iPad should be. You can pick it up with one hand, you can browse, you can use it for gaming, you can use it for all sorts of other things. You can use it for productivity work if you really want to, but you don't have to. And it doesn't really want you to. It doesn't want you to plug it into a monitor. Doesn't want you to attach a keyboard to it, even though you can, even though it won't be an Apple one, but that's a story for another day. It's just a pure tablet experience. And yeah, it's unrivaled. Unlike your iPad Pros, potentially your iPad Airs, which are kind of occupying this weird limbo space that isn't really a laptop and it isn't really just an iPad, because it's a little bit too big and a little bit too cumbersome and a little bit too expensive. Anyway, that's the challenge with them. Hello, mate. What am I using to stream? Great question. So this is my third ever live stream, I should add. And the first time I ran a live stream, I used YouTube Studio. So I just went straight into YouTube Studio, said, I want to start a live stream. Let's begin. Here's my webcam. Here's my microphone, and I hooked it up. And it looked, and the whole experience was horrible. So I looked around. There's lots of other things you can use. It's like OWS. StreamYard is another one. But I already had an account with Riverside because I use it for hosting podcasts. And I discovered that Riverside let you do live streams. So that's what I did. So it allows me to brand it up with these little graphics here and have the messages appearing on the screen, and it's really easy to set up. So yeah, I would recommend Riverside. I probably have an affiliate code somewhere. I might pop it in the link for later once this goes live. Nico, yeah. HomePod is a crappy experience at BBC Radio. I didn't know that, mate. We're talking about BBC Sound or BBC Radio, because like what I tend to do with my HomePod is I just kind of have it. I'm listening to like Spotify, or not Spotify. I don't listen to Spotify. Like a podcast or some music on my phone as I walk in, and then I just tap it on the HomePod, and it just transfers and it just kind of carries on. So I'm pretty sure that works with BBC Sounds, the app, or any other kind of audio that's coming from my phone, but I have never tried running other stuff through it like BBC Radio. Maybe I should. Thank you for the tip. There's a couple of podcasts that you can listen to on BBC Sounds that I like to dive into, so might give that a go tomorrow and we'll see how we get on. Thank you very much, mate. I'm really glad. And the main thing is it sounds all right. That's the thing I'm always really concerned about, is getting my audio okay. So yeah, I'm glad. But yeah, couldn't recommend, if you're thinking about doing any live streaming, Riverside is your one. It doesn't need to be restricted to YouTube either. You can just use Riverside as the platform and tell people to come meet you there, a bit like a Zoom or a webinar. And then you can control the setup. You can have people come in and be interviewed and that type of thing. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward, very user friendly, which is what I'm into. Okay, kids. I feel like that was a message for something else there, Sancho. Just a tip. I'm gonna head off. I really appreciate you coming along today, and I'll run another one of these. I think I'm really keen to continue more of a community feel with my channel. So this is a really nice way of making me feel like I'm actually getting to talk to people and with people, as opposed to just talking at people, which is what generally happens on my videos. I kind of come up with a concept and I talk to you about it, and hopefully you agree, and we can maybe have some chat in the comments. But it's all happened and it's all scripted and it's a bit more controlled. Whereas this is, as you can tell, a bit looser, a little bit more informal. I'm at home rather than in my studio with all my lights and things. So you've got that thing going on. But yeah, goodness me, what an interesting week for tech fans, right? Loads and loads of cool stuff unveiled, and yeah, it was really cool thinking it through and also talking it through with you all. Thank you guys for joining, and I'll catch you maybe next month. We'll do another one of these. Take care.